Okay, welcome, Drink with James, episode 141. Second to last episode in this office. Where will we be in 2 weeks? We'll be in our new office. Where will we be filming? I have absolutely no idea. Will we have walls? Impossible to say. Will we have furniture? Impossible to say. We will have great natural light and high ceilings, and that's about it. That's all I know that we will absolutely have, 100%. The rest of it, we'll see how much we can get done in the next week, but it will be bittersweet. Although, I was talking to some employees and they were like, oh, next Thursday is going to be so sad. We're leaving this office. And I was like, for me, I'm not a sentimental person at all. I don't like, I don't know. I will walk out of here and I'll be like, this place was good to me. It took a lot of my money. I spent a lot of my life here. I'm ready to move on. I just don't have that like sentimentality. I don't know. I don't feel like I need to like mark the occasion. But I do feel like my employees will want that, so I will feign some sentimentality and give some kind of toast. I do think you need to raise a glass and say, thank you to this space, but there's some incredible things happened here. We grew a lot. We moved in with 5 people. We'll move out with 32 or something. A lot happened here. I'm very happy for it. I will miss it. It was really good to us. We're moving into a space that is so much better. It cannot even begin to compare. So I don't really get that sad. Am I going to be sad when I move out of my shitty apartment into something fucking insanely amazing? No, I'm not. I'm really not going to be that sad. I'm going to be like, this is great. Finally, I won't have to vacuum roaches up anymore. That's a whole other story though for another day. I want to talk real quick because I saw something on Twitter the other day that was a really good example of something that we've talked about in the past, but I maybe haven't mentioned in a little while, which is that you guys, as influencers, your client is, say it with me now, who is it? Is it the brands? No. Your client is your audience, right? You have a responsibility to your audience to show them something interesting, educational, exciting, insightful, whatever, right? That is your job. And someone on Twitter was saying that like they spend 20 minutes every night DMing every new follower they have, thanking them for the follow and asking them to introduce themselves or something. And he says, I've been doing this for 4 years. I've spent like 14,000 DMs and like it's been so valuable for me. And it got me thinking, just like I made a note to myself to mention it on the show because I think it's a good time to ask yourself, what are you doing for your followers to make them feel special? I went to my friend's restaurant the other day, Aska, which is like this insane 2 Michelin star, incredible restaurant, and every single thing from the second you walk up, even before you get into the restaurant, from the second you walk up to it and it's all painted black and it's like totally looks, this is like austere, incredible Scandinavian thing in Williamsburg. But from the second that you walk up to the restaurant until when you leave, that whole experience is set up to make you feel special and make you feel like you are experiencing something unique and special. And you walk away from that experience feeling like that was incredible, And I'm not saying every day you have to make your followers feel like they're eating in a 2 Michelin star restaurant, but I do think the vast majority of influencers are lazy when it comes to doing things, going above and beyond for their audience. And I think that like we talk a lot about on this show about going above and beyond for the brands, and that is really important. But it's always tied back to like any sponsored post that you do needs to be valuable for your audience, right? We always say like before you post something, ask, is this going to, inspire, entertain, or educate my audience? And if not, don't hit publish on it, right? But also like, what are you doing to go above and beyond? Like we have built this business over the last 6.5 years, exceeding the expectations of our clients every single day. And you guys have two clients. You've got the brands and you've got your followers. And like, what are you doing to go above and beyond to keep them engaged, to keep them interested, and to keep them excited about you, right? Like Headspace is a client of ours, and I always struggled with meditation, but I started doing their sleep casts. And there's this one woman that does sleep casts. She's got this fucking incredible like British accent, and she kind of whispers a little. It's a little like ASMR-y, I think. But like, if you have Headspace, side note, the one she does is Nighttown and the Snowy Village one and Beach Walker. Those are hers. I listen to it every night now with my girlfriend. We fall asleep. It's amazing. But I am like telling every person I meet, I'm like, hi, I'm James. Have you listened to a Headspace Sleepcast? Because they're fucking incredible and they've like changed my life. You know, that is how your audience has to feel about you. They have to feel like amped up. And to do that, you have to be doing something special and different for them. So if you take anything from this episode, I would just ask you all to step back and ask yourself, what have you done for your audience lately that is above and beyond what you normally do? And if you think of your audience as a client, do you think they'd be satisfied with what you're doing? In that, answering that, that's the key to all of it. You know, if you can get people excited about what you're doing, so excited that they're talking to their friends about it, that like, end of the day, you will find success. It will work for you. None of this other shit will matter. So that's my intro. We'll get to the questions now. Question number one was actually from a brand, and was asking, you know, when influencers DM, they will, you know, asking for opportunities. If they're not a good fit for the brand will reply back and say, hey, we don't have any opportunities right now. Thanks so much for reaching out. Unfortunately, we don't have any opportunities this season. And then they're saying like the influencer then reaches out the next season and says, do you have any opportunities now? So I'm gonna talk to my brand people for a second. We'll bring it back to influencers as well. It's a tough one, right? Because I think as a brand, you don't want to, you know, you don't want to put in writing like, thanks for reaching out, but there's no way in hell we would ever work with you. Because obviously they could screenshot that and, you know, take it in some way and it could become this whole thing that you just don't want to deal with. So there is this, you know, delicate balance of rejecting people, but doing it in a way that doesn't feel overly harsh. But also you don't want to waste their time and you don't want to waste your time, right? Like you don't want them sending the same message 4 times a year, asking for, you know, an opportunity and you having to once again say, hey, there's no opportunities. I do think influencers try and reach out on email. The DM thing is pretty annoying. I don't know any companies that I can think of where the person who handles influencer marketing handles the Instagram account. So like you're barking up the wrong tree. There's a social team. The social team is like the brand's content, and there's the influencer team. Those teams are, as far as I can think about right now with our clients, are never the same team. So reaching out and DMing a brand is not the right contact. Now, if you're a brand and you do have to, you know, you're turning someone down via email or on DM, you know, I think I would just say, thank you so much for reaching out. Right now, we don't have any opportunities that would be a good fit. We've taken note of your name and we will reach out if anything changes. Thank you so much. That kind of says like subtly, thanks, but no thanks. And I think this is advice for influencers as well. If anyone reaches out to you and they want to do a collab or something, you know, you don't want to lead people on because that's really annoying. You know, you don't want to say like, absolutely, it'd be great, let's definitely do something, and then like just make it really hard to schedule with you. Like that's really fucking annoying. You could say like, oh, that's so sweet. Like, thank you so much for reaching out. You know, right now I'm not doing any collabs with other influencers. Or right now I'm really busy, but like, love your feed. If anything changes, I'll reach out. You know, you just want to like if you're never going to reach out, you're never going to work with that person, you don't want them leaving feeling like you're a jerk, you know? And you also don't want them leaving feeling like, well, I could get this. Like maybe in 6 months it's going to happen if it's never going to happen, because like that only causes people to get more angry. So I think learning how to say no to people in a respectful and kind but firm way is a life skill that is absolutely needed and is hard to learn. I struggled with this a lot when I was younger. I was a people pleaser. I didn't like confrontation. I didn't like to let people down, and so I would avoid telling them bad news until it was so late that I couldn't possibly get out of it. I really tried now to have this new rule where like when I have some news to deliver that I don't want to, I try and give myself 15 minutes, no more, no less. And I literally used to like hit a stopwatch and say, okay, I've got bad news I gotta tell my boss. Boom, 15 minutes starting. At the end of this, I have to have told them. And for me, it was the only way to like retrain my brain to deliver that bad news quickly. And it has made my life exponentially better. And it's meant that sometimes I can't deliver the news in the way that I want, or it's through text when I would rather it be in person. But you start playing head games with yourself, being like, oh, I'll just tell them next time. Oh, I'm gonna tell my friend this bad news tonight when we go out for drinks. And then you go out for drinks and they're like, hey, I'm breaking up with my girlfriend. And you're like, well, I can't tell them now. You know, what am I gonna do? And then you wait another week and then you keep putting it off. You know, I'm going down another tangent here as far as the question goes, but I do think it is a good life skill, and certainly one if you're going to be a manager or work with clients or anything. You have to be able to say no. You have to be able to push back. You have to be able to do it gracefully, but firmly. That's a whole other episode. We could just talk about like how to push back on clients, or how to say no, or how to tell people disappointing news. But
well, that sounds like a good question for next week.
Yeah, someone asked me a question about that. Someone asked me a question about how to deliver bad news to a client or something like that, and we'll try and answer it. Yeah, if you're an influencer, should you be responding to DMs? Like, if you go back to thinking of your followers like clients, then yeah, I think you should be responding to DMs. You know, I know it's a lot of work, and maybe it's not sustainable, but I think you have to try and figure out a way to continue to be able to have a relationship with your audience as that audience grows. And you need to have a way to kind of scale out what you're doing, and maybe, if you're getting similar questions, maybe you need to be doing, live Q&As more, or something like that. Again, I say this without knowing much about how many DMs influencers are getting and how frustrating it is to answer them. Maybe you guys can throw it in the comments and like have a little conversation together about what you do. I'd be interested to know, to hear from you guys in the comments, like how many followers you have on average, how many DMs you think you're getting in a week, and what percentage of those you feel like you're answering. Because I don't get many DMs. I mostly get people saying, your account looks really great and we would love to give it more engagement. Authentic, real engagement. Please message back for details. And I'm like, fuck yeah, let's do this. So let me know. Question number 2, when delivering content as an influencer, do you think it is helpful or harmful to over-deliver on assets? I want the brand to have options, but sometimes I feel it isn't always better. I'll say this, over-delivery is always appreciated. If you've used our new content approval tool at Fohr on campaigns, I think if the brand is supposed to pick one image, we ask influencers to give at least 3 options. You can't, if you're sending something through for approval, you have to send more than one option. Like, you can't just send the one photo and be like, this is the photo. I think it's great for micro influencers to say like, hey, here's some extra high res photos you guys can use on social or something. If you're trying to build your account and not just like get paid. I think if you're a bigger influencer, I think this question was asked by someone who has about 300K. I would probably be trying to charge for that, for additional assets, because, you know, you're just doing some, you know, that is work you're doing for a brand. If they have the ability to use the assets and you have over, you know, 100,000 followers, then they should be paying to use those assets. If you are just saying, I know there's one photo, but I sent 10 for approval, that's great. The more choice the brands can have, the better. You can never know exactly what somebody wants, and I think giving them options is great. It also makes it feel like you really worked hard and you went above and beyond. You didn't just send one photo. Nothing, let me just side note here, nothing pisses me off more, and I know my execution team as well, than when we're paying an influencer and they send something through for approval and it is an iPhone photo in a mirror. It's just like, are you fucking high? Like, are you kidding me? You're fucking kidding me, right? Like, I'm paying you thousands of dollars and you took out an iPhone and was like, that felt like a good hard day's work. Like, that is insane. It is a slap in the face to brands if you do that. Slap in the face. What it says to us, fair or unfair, is I don't give a shit about this and I don't care enough to actually try, you know? And if your aesthetic is like iPhone photos in the mirror, cool. I would definitely explain that when you sent it through to brands. I would say, hey, these posts tend to do quite a bit better than my editorial ones. So I did shoot some editorial shots, but I also included an iPhone one. I just want you to let you know those do a lot better in general. But overall, is over delivery good? Always. Once you get to a certain size, should you be charging for people using the assets? Yes, that's your likeness. You don't know if it could mess with another, you know, brand collaboration, something you have coming up in the coming months. So it's just something to watch out for. Question number 3. You guys swear a lot, excuse you. You guys swear a lot, and so do I. Where do we draw the line with brands? I do swear a lot. I swear a decent amount when I'm speaking and on this show. I almost never swear in writing. I think that cursing in writing is lazy, and I don't think it does anything, and I think it feels a lot more aggressive and crass than when you're speaking, personally. So I almost never curse in writing. I think one of the, I tried to read The Subtle Art of Not Giving a Fuck, and it was just such an unbelievable piece of dog shit, that book. But the whole time I was like, this guy is a terrible writer, and he's trying to hide that by cursing a lot. And that's how he's being cool, is by saying fuck a lot. But in writing, it's just it's totally lazy. And there's some famous, I think some famous writer wrote something about cursing in writing and being lazy. But where to draw the line with brands, but let's say I was an influencer and I'm like, this is me. I am who I am and I curse. Or, if one of my salespeople came and said, hey, some of our clients are really conservative and it'd be great if you wouldn't curse and drink with James anymore. But you have to know that those things have consequences, right? There are brands that won't work with you if your feed is too risque. If you have too much nudity and too much sexuality in the feed, there are brands that won't work with you. I've been in those meetings where brands have said they didn't want to work with people, male and female, because they were too overtly sexual. Now, that same door that closes there opens other ones where brands are looking for people who, put their sexuality out there front, who are really, aggressive about it, and they want people like that. So, I think it all kind of evens out in the end. But I do think that cursing and writing, unless there's a very specific reason, because I do think it's kind of jarring So I think if you're going to use it, it needs to be like very intentional. Like, I think the last time I cursed in writing, like on Instagram, was when I was talking about the new office, and I was like, it has been so fucking hard to build this business, or something like that, right? And like, I made the choice to say that because I wanted it to kind of jump out and like be something that people noticed. But I think in general, using it is lazy and terrible, and obviously never use it in a sponsored post unless the brand is like, that's who they are. Yeah. So, too long didn't read. In stories and stuff, I think it's okay. It might throw some people off, but written, I would avoid it. Okay. That is it. We are done. I am probably going to go over to the new office and watch our contractor slowly put me into a shallow and early grave. So, cheers.